Hi everybody, it's Serger Thursdays. This machine, this is the one, the Babylock Evolve, but there's several of them. If they have 8 threads, it'll do it. There's also a separate Coverstitch machine, although I don't know why anyone would want a separate machine. This will do combination. A lot of other companies do have cover stitches and chain stitch machines. The difference is most of them do not do the combination stitches very well. So this you can. So like from here to here, it's a serger, regular 2, 3, or 4 thread serger. Chain and cover stitch are on this side. So we're going to start with the chain stitch. And remember, with the chain stitch, you should be using these EL 704 needles. Okay, so I'm going to start with a chain stitch. Now you have the 2 cassettes. The one with 3 positions is your chain and cover stitch needles. The one with the up and down here, these are your overlock. So you could put it in any of these, 1, 2, or 3. Now remember I said with overlock it's kind of hard to tell whether you are getting a 5/8 inch seam or not. But with the chain and the cover stitch, you do get an accurate seam, and I'll show you. I'm just going to put this needle in. I'm going to loosen it. There we go. And I don't know if you can see that, if you can see the needle. Actually, I think you can. See that little silver glint right there? Right here. Right there. What that is, that's the top of the needle against the top of the little ball, so you know your needle is inserted correctly. If you get skipped stitches with a chain or a cover stitch, 9 times out of 10, or even more than that, it's because this needle is not all the way up to the top. It can vibrate loose, so check every once in a while, make sure you can see that little silver glint through there. Okay. And where's the table to this? Okay, well, we won't use it right now. Okay, so I'm going to do chain and cover stitch. So, what I was saying about the needles. Right now it's in the C1 position here. So if you go between the needle and this edge of the foot, which is this, where the blade is, where that indent right here is for the blade, that is 5/8 of an inch seam. You can count on this being an accurate 5/8 inch seam if you are sewing with the edge of the fabric right there with the edge of the inside edge of the foot. If you are using the C2 needle right here, this is giving you 1/2 inch seam. So that would be a 1/2 inch between here and here. And this one is going to give you 3/8 if you're using that C3 position, your needle here. That would give you 3/8. So now to thread this thing, I'm going to lock the tubes in. So this one I push. Some of them you have a dial. Some it's a dial, you go this way. You always turn the hand wheel towards you till you hear click, click. And let's make this a little bigger so you can see what I'm doing. And this side here, with the lurking cat behind it, is your lower looper, not lower looper, your chain looper setting. So, how I do this is this comes up, and I'm using the chain looper section. So I'm on this side here. So I can do this with one hand here. You think of this as an ear, so you go in towards the hole in the head. Then you're behind here. You see that there? See that little silver thing down there? You're going to go underneath of it, then up and over. Okay, and now I'll put it back, and now it goes straight down into, oh good Lord, Jerry. Straight down. I'm going to put this on chain now. If you've got the jet air with the air pump built in, like the Triumph and the Ovation and the what's the new one? Triumph. Okay. you would just simply put it in the hole that says O. You want to grab this about a 1/2 inch. You don't need it really big because it becomes too noodly, and you want a good 18 inches of thread. Okay, I'm going to raise that presser foot. And then this one I push through, the other one I just push a button, wrong one, put that on chain. There, and it's disappeared. Like, where is it? Okay. It's inside there. It went, if you can see it, right inside this basket. So usually what I do is I pull that thread, cut it with the cutter, just tuck it back in, and it went back in, and shut the door. That's all you need to do. Okay, now for the needles. Okay, and I'm going to, notice I have all of the threads up, lots of them here. So I come straight up. And then, like, if I'm doing the C1 needle, I would put this into here first. The C2 needle, or the C3. Okay, and on this one, you're going to take, I put it in the slot first, okay, and then I run this to this side and just click it up. Or you can run it, if you're in the middle slot, you can do it either way. If you're in this slot, right here, you would go to the right. This is the left, this one, who cares? And now you're ready to sew. Then on here, I'm going to go just like a sewing machine over the take-up lever. Instead of being right to left, it's going to be left to right. So it goes under and over and into the guides. Good, there we go. Yeah, rule number 1, don't forget the needle threader. Okay. And there we go. Okay, it should be ready to sew. Now, on my quick reference guide, okay, I'm looking for the one that says chain. Nope. It's always on the last one I'm looking at. There it is. Okay. Now, settings over here. I am using, this one I'm using left needle, so I want my stitch length at 3. The stitch length is here, and I'm just putting it at 3, just so it's a little bigger. Blade width doesn't matter because we're going to lock it. Oh, well, it says width doesn't matter, so I'm just guessing it's going to be lock it down. Stitch selector, we don't care because we are not using the overlock portion. Wave selector is going to be on, well, we don't care because we're not using these. Chain needle tension is 4 to 6, and this is my chain needle tension, and the chain looper tension should be on chain. Now, there it is. That's what it looks like. This is your chain here. If you look on this side, it says chain or cover. We want it on chain. So my little indicator is this thing here. So anywhere in here is fine. Here, the larger the bar, the tighter that looper tension is. The shorter the bar, the less needle tension we have until we get all the way to cover. Now that's cover stitch, so think of that as loose tension. So I'm just going to sort of go right in the middle, right there. Okay, we got here the upper looper selector, which is this thing, is down actually. It said to go down. So see this? This right here is your upper looper selector. I'm going to turn it down. Okay? And what that does is if you turn your hand wheel then towards you, then that upper looper, which is right here, is going to lock into place. There, it just locked into place. And won't be coming up and down again. Okay? Then the other thing it says to do is lock my blade down. Okay? And put the sewing table on. Okay, so I lock my blade. Let's see if I can see where it says lock. Yeah, right here. If I turn this, it'll say lock. It says lock right here. Okay, and I'm ready to go. And of course, then it's also showing you the threading path. So it says here we're in this position, going in this first hole and up and around, and we're good to go. Okay, now I'm going to put this on. Let me take these little buttons off. I don't want to get in the way. We are going to take the knife cover off and put the table on. This gives you a little bit of an extended surface. There. Okay. And take this off, and this goes on. If you're up, this is up. See how it won't let you, see how this won't let you close it? As I take that knife cover off. If this is down, then look, it goes in just right. Okay, we're ready to sew. Now I don't have to get these threads underneath. I just want to cut them about 2 to 3 inches. My presser foot is down. And here we go. And I'm going to let it sew through. Okay. And this looks like it's supposed to. I'm using 5 different colors so that you can see what they look like. Now, this here is where the thread was just sewing through. If you want it really neat, what I suggest you do is get an extra piece of fabric just to test it, because you got to sew those threads through. And there they are. If you sew off the edge of the fabric, let me just sew off the edge. And you leave like a little loop, okay? They should be locked. Your threads will not pull out. And I'm going to cut that off for now. Okay, and now I just want to open this seam. And see, now you get a nice seam. If you wanted to, this could be a regular seam. You can use it as a sewing machine, because you can press this seam open if you wanted to. And looks really nice. So that's on a woven. Works really well on a knit as well. And what's this so nice about this for a knit is the fact that not only is this a straight stitch, okay, is that it has give. See, it's not popping the seams, because that little bit of a loop back here puts give to it, and therefore you can stretch your fabric, not pop the seams. I'm going to go up close up so you can see this is the back of what a normal stitch looks like. It shouldn't be really tight, and it shouldn't be really loopy, because then, unlike the overlock, the chain and cover stitch are manual tension, is a manual tensioning system, which means they're discs squeezing in on a piece of thread. Now the needle, the same controller operates all 3 sets of discs here, so they're all the same. And then there's a disc inside of here, so these act like normal tensions. So if this part is really loopy, then you know you've got to tighten this, and by tighten this you would go more towards the bigger lines, or the bigger lines right here. Make the lines bigger, and let's see what it looks like. So now that's too tight, I think. Oh yeah, you see how much more you see? Ooh, and this is kind of stretched, as versus that's a little more relaxed. And I'll bet you this one might pop. Yep, that one popped. See, it's too tight. You'll know your needles are too loose if they're loopy, then you need to tighten them. I usually leave it at 5, which is right in the middle, and just leave it there. Okay, I'm going to put that back to normal. Okay, removing the seams. Okay, now before you saw that if you chain off the edge of the fabric, it doesn't pull. I can't find the end. It won't pull out. I want to remove this stitching. Okay, so I know because of the color I would pull the white thread. So I'll go over here and pull this white thread if I can get it. And yeah, no. I find if I try to, see, you can see it won't pull out, and you'd think it should. So usually what I do is I cut right to the edge of the fabric. Okay, Okay. And this, I gotta take my glasses off because I can't see this. Like, okay. So what you do is you pick at this till you separate your threads. And let's see. There we go. Okay, and now that I've isolated the two threads, see how that pulls away? So yes, you can use this for basting because now you can remove those stitches really easily. So like I said, if you chain off, it's not necessary. They're automatically locked unless you really work at it to pick it away. It doesn't pick away that easily. So, okay, now turning a corner with a chain stitch is a little on the tricky side because we were always taught that when you stitch, your needle goes through the fabric and you pivot and you keep stitching. That's going to cause you to have a funky stitch. It's not going to quite loop and it's not going to catch right in the corner, and it usually skips across. So watch if I try to do it. It won't. Okay, so this is how we normally do this. Watch it work perfectly. See what it did? It rounded it because it missed this stitch right here. See? This little tiny stitch right here skipped. There's that corner where I pivoted, and it skipped the stitch there. And it's loose. So you didn't get a good corner. So what you do with a serger instead, or with the this chain stitch, is you're going to stitch until you're ready to turn the corner. I'm going to put my needle down and turn that hand wheel towards me until I can see the eye of the needle, or just the tip. There's the tip. There's the tip. It's hard to see it, but in fact I can't see it unless I have a magnifying glass. But the eye of the needle is out of the fabric, and only the tip is sticking into the fabric. And at this point, I can pivot it and then continue stitching. Yep, that's even more than a 90 degree. And look, that's the bad one. The one on the bottom is the good one. See how tight that is? And it didn't skip in the back. So the trick is needle all the way down and just let the eye peek up above the top of the surface of the fabric, leaving the tip, the very tip of the needle end, then pivot there, and then now you get a nice corner. Okay, so that's all there is to a chain. Now, you can use any of these chain positions, no problem. Okay, so the next thing I want to do is a cover stitch. Oh, wait, before I go on, other things you can do with the chain is just simply sew bunches of it. All right. Let's see, sometimes I want to do this. I will start it usually in fabric and just let it go. Don't put any stress on it, don't pull it, because then it'll stop forming. See, as you pull it, it stops forming stitches. You have to start it in fabric in order to form a stitch. Start it in fabric. Don't pull. Okay, it's not doing it today. Mine has decided it doesn't want to chain today, but these little chain bits like this, you can make strings of it, which I had started to, and use this as a tie. You can also use this as a loop to do a snap or something. A lot of times I will sew these in with a snap on one side to put them inside the like a sundress at the strap, so it'll hold the bra straps in. You could use it on a line skirt where you've got a what do you call them things? Like a kick pleat or a vent, a slit. That's what it's called. A slit up the side, and if it's lined, you know how sometimes if you turn or walk, the lining will stick out of the slit. Well, this will, you can actually sew one end to, you can sew one end to the lining and one end to the skirt, and just leave it on a short leash so that the lining can't peek out from the slit of the skirt. So that's some things I have used those for. I've sometimes, when I've got thicker thread and I made long ones, I can use those as sew them into, like, underneath the shoulder seam or underneath of the arm's eye, to use as a strap on a hanger, so it'll hold it up so your sweaters and your knits won't droop and if you hang them up. Those are other uses for that stitch. Now let's go to the cover stitch. Okay, so cover stitch, I need to add another needle. Add another needle. Let's go here. Okay, and I need to find the red thing. There it is. Red thing. Okay, and I'm going to put this thread in, which is in this position. Thread it through this third one, come up and around, and now into this needle. Okay, I'm just going to lay them on the top. I don't have to make any changes to anything else threading. The only thing I have to do here is change this style from chain to cover, which is that solid line here, and I am in that little bar there. That's the only thing I'm changing. If you have the Triumph, instead of it having chain and cover, it's going to give you, there's a numerical dial on the front, and your cheat sheet will tell you what settings to set it for. So it'll say if you're using needle 1, you set this at a different, they are numbers. So instead of just willy-nilly guess chain and cover. Okay, so now we're going to do a cover stitch. And cover stitch, I love doing cover stitch. Whether you pick, cover stitch can be either end, that's called the wide cover stitch. Then you have a narrow cover stitch if you use the end one and the center one, or this end and the center one. Either way, that'll give you a narrow cover stitch. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and give it a test. Cover stitch is even pickier than chain stitch. Cover stitch has to start and stop in fabric or it won't form a stitch. So I'm going to just start, run those threads through. And we always do a test. And see, as it leaves the fabric, notice I've just got strings. It did not form a stitch. Okay, and it did a good, no, it did not do a good stitch. I don't know if you can see that. See, bad stitch. Odds are one of these two threads is not sitting in those tension discs firmly. So before I try to do anything else, raise my presser foot. I'm going to hold on to these threads and I'm going to pull up on these threads, and then we'll try it again. Before I try to do anything else, because if you thread this with the presser foot down, the thread is sitting outside of the tension dials. Okay, let's try this again. Yep, that's all it took. Here, let me show you one fabric you can see, because you can't see that one. Perfect. Now we have a good stitch. See what happens when one of the thread breaks over on the left? Not good. So anyway, this is good, and it's just perfect. I don't see a lot going on, and it also works very well on a knit. So if I do this on a knit, it's going to also have give. Okay. See, there's the chain, and now look, it's got give. So it's perfect for hemming. I use this for hemming an awful lot. Now to do a hem, okay, right here I have the edge of the hem. So what I do is usually I will make a fold or chalk it or something. So this is the edge of the hem. I don't know if you can see that fold right there. I'm going to run that fold along this left needle line. And I'm going to start right up to the needles. And I'm going to keep the edge of the fabric between this mark and this mark. And see, it's all enclosed. I like that. Okay, now, turning a corner. Okay, what it says in the book, and I'm going to do this on paper, so let's go over here so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, so when you are, what the book says to do is to turn a corner. Say you're stitching along this way, here's your two ends. What it tells you to do is that you're going to stop where you want to pivot. So your needle would be right here, here, and here. You're going to raise the needles out of the machine, turn that hand wheel, and just before it goes in again, you're going to pivot and put this left needle, or no, excuse me, right needle, got dyslexic again, goes here, which means your left needle would be right here. So this is what you're going to get it to look like. You're going to get a cross thread here, and it looks like that. Not particularly pretty. And most of the time that skips on me. So instead what I do is this. That's not going to, it's not, okay. Is that I would go, same thing, I would come 2 needles this way. So instead, I'll do the same thing, raise the needle up, and just before it goes down again, instead of tracking here, I'm going to track to this needle. So my left needle would go here, my right needle would go here, and we'll hand walk a stitch, one whole rotation. Same thing again. So just before it's due to come down into the fabric, I will pivot again. So this is here, and this is here. And you get this stitch, because this is going to be in the same spot. You'll have a little knot on the back, but that's okay. And sometimes I have to go a third time, so same things, roll it up, just before it goes down, then put it back into the same hole, and now you get this rounded look to it. It's a lot prettier than that. And the last thing I wanted to show you with a cover stitch, say I want to do a hem on a shirt or skirt or pants leg. Okay, so I have a tube. Okay, and I'm going to fold it like I'm going to do a hem. So I want to do that hem. So I'm going to sew it from this side. So what I usually do is I will pull these threads straight. I want to have straight threads coming out of the machine. I don't know if you can see that. See, I have straight threads coming out of the machine. And I'm going to put sort of I can just slip it in. Okay, and I want that hem to be, and I'm going to just, you can use the seam guide, and somewhere in my stuff I've got a seam guide that you can screw onto this table. This is small enough I don't need it, but you could use a seam guide that'll help you to maintain a perfect seam. So I'm just going to sew straight. I do have it in here, and I'm just going to sew all the way around. Almost there. can see that where I started. So I'm coming up to where I started. Okay, so I'm going to cut these threads off. They're going to get confusing, so I just want to cut them close, get them out of the way. Okay, because I don't want it to confuse me to where it ended. So therefore, I'm going to sew. Okay, now when I come up, okay, I can see where I started, so I'm going to, that's why I like this foot. You can see the threads. See the threads pop up? There they are. I can go over top exactly the same threads. Get close to them. And overstitch them by about 1/2 inch or so. Raise those needles to the highest it'll go. Raise your presser foot. Give it some slack. Pull straight back gently to clear the stitch fingers. Okay, and then I'm going to pinch it up underneath and just hand walk it so I can release my stitches out the side. Now once I can grab the threads, then I want to pull straight. Okay, so now I'm left with these threads. Come back down. Yep. So I'm left, where is it? Here's the threads. Okay, there's the threads. I have 2 on the top and 1 on the bottom. So I'm going to take this bottom one and I'm going to gently pull until I get, here comes a blue thread, which is one of them. Pull that blue thread out. What color's the other one? Nope, the black one's still there. I gotta find the black one. I'm pulling both of these. Okay, and then when you can't find one, when you can't find the other thread, this is what you do. You just grab a needle. Where is that black thread? Here it is. Okay, I just can't see it. It's there. I just can't see it because it's dark. I'm going to just poke that through the same hole. Okay, here we go. And I pull all 3, see I have all 3 threads right here. And I just knot them. Just tie a knot. Okay, I just tied a square knot. Yeah. And now that's not going to come out. And so on the front, and then just clip these ends, these little extra threads. You can fray check them in if you want to. I usually don't. I just cut them short. They're not going to come out. And now I've got my seam. And it's going to be hard to find where I started and where I stopped. It's here somewhere. I can tell because I can see the knotted threads are here, but you really can't tell where you started and where you stopped. So that's how you do a hem. And this way, if you have your hem and you have these little bits sticking out the back, just trim them away. It's no big deal. Okay, that's awesome. Okay, so now we want to go ahead and do what I call the combination stitch, which is what I like for side seams. It's a combination of a chain stitch as well as a 3-thread overlock. So I'm going to take the thread out of this left needle because I want the right needle in. Tighten that up. Take that thread out, and I'm going to put it in the O2 position. I put this in the down position, so now when I turn my hand wheel, that upper looper is, put it back up, I'm sorry. And now it's re-engaged. I have changed out the table for the knife cover. And now I'm going to thread the excess out. I'm going to thread for a 3-thread narrow overlock. So I need to find the end of this thread. Here it is. And I'm going to just thread now for a 3-thread narrow overlock, leaving the chain in. Okay, I'm going to lock my threading tubes down. Okay. Upper looper, or that's lower looper. Okay, and that came out. Oh, gold is the upper looper. There we go. Go away, green. Okay, upper looper. There we go. Okay, and we need a needle. Green. I'm putting them in the right place because after this this will be the one and only time you will see all 8 threads going at one time, because honestly there's no practical reason to having all 8 threads. But this way you can see what they look like. It reminds me of lawn furniture. And this is particularly troublesome because I don't have the needle threader. And I can't see. There we go. Yeah. There we go. Okay. So my settings for that is I'm going to do the chain. So I set this up for chain, and I'm chain right. Okay, so we've done that. I'm just putting this on chain. Then I'm going to change this to a 3-thread narrow overlock. So my settings for that is using the 02 needle, length 2 to 4. I'm there, or 2.5 to 3.5. Width is at 3, so that's good. Stitch selector at B. Wave selector is on overlock. Chain needle, then those up for chain. My table is up. The table's on. The blade is up. Good, that's all working. And it's in the right threading paths. So, this one, like I said, I like this one for seams. Another piece of fabric. Here's one for a seam. So I'd put this like right sides together. Oh, close it. Release my threading tube. It works a little better that way. So I've heard. Today, who knows? Okay. Now, oh, perfect. Okay, so now, there we go. I have a 3-thread overlock, narrow, and I have a chain. Perfect. So now I've got a seam, and this is great for like side seams, or anytime you want to do a seam and overcast at the same time, and it presses to one end, and that's all good to go. Okay, this one isn't in the book, but you can take any of the combinations here, which is your chain and cover stitch, match it with anything in all green, which is overlock. Plus I think there's another page here. Yeah, there's a page here and a page here. So here's the, and these are the combination stitches that they have. I don't ever use any of these. So like I usually do them independently. I will thread for chain, cover, whatever I want, and then anything overlock in any combination. So you can use any of these, and including the wave stitches with a chain and a cover stitch, and I don't even know how many combination of stitches. This is what makes this machine so easy to use. Okay, so now let's do this for all of them. Let's do, I need one more needle. So, okay, I'm going to thread up all of the other needles. Okay, now because I've been fiddling around so much, I'm going to hold on to all these threads and pull them from the other end to make sure everything is seated. There, they're all seated. Okay, I need that on A because the only thing I had to change, because it's on, and put this back on Coverstitch. So all I did was change this one to Coverstitch, which is my loop retention, and I have changed my stitch selector to A since I have both needles in. Okay, and here goes. Let's see what kind of, I'm going to make it a long stitch length so it'll really look like lawn furniture. There we go. Doing bunch of different colors. Yeah, see, this is so clownish looking. There we go. That's what that looks like. And there it is from the back. Not impressed, huh? Looks like lawn furniture, right? Especially this one, right? This really looks like lawn furniture. Oh, that's the wrong side. Let me do this side, you can really see it. Oh dear God, yeah. Looks like Fiesta lawn furniture. It's really tacky looking. Yeah, see? Really tacky. But I guess that would look nice at the edges of pillows and stuff. But that's about all I'd ever use it for. So anyway, I am sorry for this completely crazy class.